how good of a fit is Michael Penix Jr. for Sean Payton and this Denver Broncos team?
For me, I feel like he's a great fit. I think he does exactly what Sean needs from his quarterback. He's very precise. He knows where to go with the football. And when he takes those deep throws, those deep shots, he hits on a lot of them. I know he has a great group of core receivers, but the ball placement is phenomenal.
Yep.
And I think that's exactly what Sean needs from his quarterback. Now, my fear is that he's playing a little bit too well.
Yeah.
He's doing too well, and then he has a national championship where everybody will be watching him, and he's going to be performing really well. You know, you're doing great, Penix, but don't raise your draft stock too high. We want to still be able to get you.
Henry, how good of a fit is he?
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. The one thing that concerns me is that, so I think the last 3 years of Drew Brees' career, he was bottom 3 in the NFL in average depth of target. So it was all just like this little short stuff. And I just pulled it up because Pro Football Reference, that's when they started tracking. Pro Football Focus goes back further, and they have him throwing it farther downfield earlier in his career. But that's the one thing, is that Penix throws so many of those deep balls. It isn't as much of that like short game stuff, and that doesn't mean he can't do it. Right. I mean, he obviously has done it. It's just that for the most part, it's the long throws down the field that stands out. So in terms of a fit, like, I don't think he's a bad fit. Like, he's a really smart pocket passer who gets the ball where it needs to be, puts it right on target every single time, gives receivers a chance. That was the one thing that made me wonder, though, because that's more of like a, I don't know, is he more like Phillip Rivers or Ben Roethlisberger type than like a Drew Brees? But you're probably just nitpicking, because if you can get one of those guys, that'd be pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, Sean can make that work.
What was Russell Wilson known for in terms of his play? The moon ball when he came to Denver, the deep ball.
Yep.
And that's clearly not what Sean's going for. Sean's not going for the all or nothing, and you win it with the big plays and nothing else. So you're right. With Michael Penix, you see the deep ball, and Todd, he does have really good receivers, like you said, but I could catch those balls, I think, with how precise he's putting all the balls. So you just have to make sure that Michael Penix doesn't just have a deep ball. And from what I've seen, I don't think he just has a deep ball. He has to obviously have those short intermediate passes. We've broken down extensively just how Russ does not have that intermediate ball, and that's so key for Sean's offense. So if Sean identifies, all he can do is throw the deep ball, then no. I mean, this is a younger Russell Wilson that maybe can't run as much and isn't as proven in the NFL, but I do think that he has this short and intermediate. And in fact, when I look at Michael Penix, I'm just like, he checks so many boxes.
For sure.
He's accurate. He has the decision making. He's got poise. He's got a feel of the pocket, which is really impressive. And he just has the intangibles too. He has the leadership. Exactly. All of the reports on him. In fact, he led the players only meeting the night before. And what did they say at the start of the game? Like, you could hear a pin drop after he left that meeting and was the one leading it. He's overcame adversity. He just seems like he can handle every sort of situation, whether it's at Indiana or transferring to Washington. And there are a couple of negatives that we need to mention as well, because these get brought up all the time. The downsides, there's two big ones, in my opinion. Major injuries. He's been injured many, many times. Does that concern you guys?
If it happened recently, yes. But I feel like those are in the past, and now he's playing his best football, and he's been healthy. Like, guys get injured all the time, but if they can bounce back, even like an Adrian Peterson or, guys bounce back from major injuries. And he's been healthy this year, so I feel positive about that.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, he's finished 2 of his 6 seasons, which is just not what you want. I mean, that is the concern, though. Like, that's why maybe some people got like turned on to Michael Penix this week because of that game, but like, he kind of did what he's been doing all year. Like, it wasn't like it's like, wait, he can do that. Right. We've known, like, that was definitely one of his better games, of course, but
that's why Washington's undefeated and in that position.
Exactly. But that's why coming into that week, everybody's saying, well, he's probably a 3rd-round pick, and maybe you can't even put a number on it just because you don't know how the medicals are going to go at the combine. Like, if you find that there are serious problems there, half the league might just take him off the draft board and say, like, we can't touch this guy.
If he's playing like this with serious problems,
what's he like without serious problems?
But his injuries came 4 years in a row, right? So he started 2 out of his
first and last? Is that when he finished the year? It might have been.
Or was it the first 4? I thought it was the first 4 at Indiana. And then he's been healthy the
I can
last
check.
2, right?
He was healthy last year.
Was
yep.
he?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, he was the first quarterback since Patrick Mahomes to throw for 4,500 yards in back-to-back seasons. How about that?
It's a good
Yeah, like, I
company to
wouldn't-
be in.
Next Mahomes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd take it.
for sure.
Left-handed Mahomes?
Nice.
Yeah. The other piece of it though is that he played behind the best offensive line in the country this year, and that factors in more. I mean, it factors in more. I think in the passing game where you have so much time to stand there and wait and get the ball
Did
out.
he have time on, what was it, Sunday or Monday? Did he have time?
Not like crazy time.
And
I
what
mean,
did he do?
it's-
Sidestep,
Yep,
dagger.
he does all those things. But
Didn't
over the course of
wait,
the
didn't Russ also have a lot of time and he just held on too long to the ball?
I don't think he had a lot of time. Like
So-
I
But
do
you
think
were,
it's
you were talking about how the Broncos' offensive line would have been the best offensive line if they made the playoffs.
and they didn't make the playoffs.
Wow,
The
my
offensive
God.
line fell apart. I say if they make the playoffs, they'll have a top 3 offensive line
Top
in the
3,
playoffs.
okay.
The running game dried up, so they didn't make it to the playoffs. Like that's what I was saying. But the point is, I mean, they literally won the award for best offensive line in the country this year. Okay, boo me if you want. But yeah, they literally won the award for best offensive line in the country. So that is something that I worry about a little bit, especially when you consider he's left-handed. So you got McGlinchey on the blind side, a guy who's injury prone. I still like it, but if you have doubts, I think that's kind of where the doubts creep in.
So with the injuries for me, I don't want to say I'm encouraged, even more encouraged, but I think he might have actually helped his NFL stock because of the injuries. And what I mean by that is he was a running quarterback at Indiana. Then he had to change to become more of a pocket passer, but he's still mobile. But to me, he profiles better being the pocket passer in the NFL with a little bit of mobility than a pure running quarterback that still has to develop into a pocket passer, and you're really not sure if that can happen, kind of like Jaden Daniels. And we'll talk about him, of course, over the next few months. But to me, with ACLs, I'm not that concerned because you're supposed to like come back even stronger after an ACL, and an ACL is so different now than it was 20 years ago. If he had multiple ACL surgeries and shoulder injuries 20 years ago, it's like, yeah, he's unfortunately probably damaged goods. Now, I think the injuries have helped his game become that pocket passer, specifically when it comes to the Broncos winning in the pocket that you need, and his mobility he's not just a statue in there. Now, you're not going to come in and have him being a running quarterback, but I think that he is mobile enough to be able to handle pressure, to be able to pick up 10 yards when you need it.
Yeah, and I think that, honestly, in the NFL, good quarterbacks win with their legs. Great quarterbacks win in the pocket.
Yep.
When you put a list of the greatest quarterbacks ever, they do a lot of their damage from the pocket and being able to find the open receiver and make precision passing. I don't think that accuracy is high level or highly touted enough coming out of the draft. Everybody talks about a big arm. Everybody talks about legs now. And I feel like the accurate quarterbacks are the ones who find success in the NFL.
Yep.
If you look at even like the great quarterbacks of our generation, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they all had good arms, but they know how to put the football where they need. Aaron Rodgers, they know how to put the football where it needs to go more than they can just launch balls, balls down the field all game, every game,
You know who's got a great arm? Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Remember that throw he made during his pro day where he's rolling out to the left and threw it across his body like 80 yards? Great.
Yep.
That's awesome for a video clip. That doesn't do shit in the NFL.
For sure.
That's like something you need 0.1% of the time.
Yep.
And if you don't have it, okay, well, you're not going to have one thing that you can go to 0.1% of the time. So, Todd, we haven't talked draft much, but I know you and I are going to get along because
Yes,
I
sir.
agree with you. As long as you have a good enough arm, anything above that is like gravy on top. But what you really need is the decision-making in the pocket and accuracy. And boy, I haven't watched every play or every game, but considering they're 13-0, what I have seen, he checks all of those categories. Now, the only other negative that I can point to is he's 24 years old, and that's being held against him. It's going to be held against pretty much every quarterback in this draft because the youngest quarterback that could be a first-round pick in this draft is 22 years old. You see some guys come out at like 20, 21, and he's 24 years old. You got to
Or
do
he
this.
will be.
Yeah,
May.
yeah. May of this year, he'll be 24. you got to view this through Sean Payton's eyes. Sean Payton's not viewing this as a 15-year deal. Sean Payton's viewing this as he's got 4 more years on his contract. Maybe he extends his deal for another 5 years. But even then, Michael Penix is going to be 34 then. Sean's not going to be nitpicky and say, man, that's a great quarterback. If he was 2 years younger, I'd take him, but I'm just going to pass up on him. No, he's not viewing it that way.
No, and I think that most quarterbacks, even quarterbacks that aren't the greatest, like a Trevor Siemian, no knock on him. He's not like a great quarterback, but he's going to play until he's 34.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think like the worst case scenario, you get 10 years out the guy. Best case scenario, you get 15. Like that's a win either way.
Yep.
So I don't see that being like a bad thing that he's 24. He's more mature. He's aged.
There you go.
He's wise.
Exactly.
Now, I say that we're going to get along, then you have to go out and bash my guy Trev like that.
No, I love Trev. No, I'm just saying, like, even as like a quarterback that's
you're
not
right.
like a premier or a starting quarterback, you kind of can make your rounds if you are decent, and you can play until 34, 35, and still make some money.
Yep.
Now, I guess a concern that people could point to with that is saying, oh, this guy's played 6 years in college. Shouldn't he be dominating the way he is right now? Because he's 2 years older than the oldest guys he's playing against. Is there concern about that? And Todd, you kind of hinted to it earlier, like, man, he's playing so well. Is that something that concerns you at all? Like, okay, he's playing against guys that are like, 1 year into college right now. And of course he's dominating them. Should that concern you?
Well, he really, if we want to talk about, I think we have to talk about the injuries on both sides. So technically he hasn't been playing for as long. He's had season-ending injuries. Yeah, he's been watching film and taking mental reps, but his actual time on the field has probably been about 3.5 years in total. So he spent a lot of time on the sidelines not really playing the way he wanted to play.
And it's not baseball. Like he's competing against like the second highest level of competition in the world. Like in baseball, you get some of those guys where it's like, oh yeah, he's like a 6th-year senior baseball player, whatever, and he's going up against whatever young guys. He's still got like, he's going to high A and then double A and then triple A. Same thing. Or like you come in late and you're like the 25-year-old or whatever playing in AE ball. I'm not a big baseball guy, but then you have to like make a jump. Like he's dominating the second highest level of football. Like I'm not too worried about how old he is or how many extra opportunities he's gotten.
XFL and the arena football, all those guys.
CFL. No, those guys are great too.
CFL.
Yeah, a lot of Montana Grizzlies in there.
Follow the money. The money will say college is where it's at, I think, with Texas's backup quarterback making $10 million. I think his last name helps with that.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.